Hey, fans, welcome. James? Oh, God, say the least.
Hey, welcome in everybody to the Halos in the Infield official wrap-up show of the season. And what a great season, everybody, as we're enjoying playoff baseball with you tonight, aren't we? Or
Yeah, man. Dude, Mike Trout had a hell of a game today, man. Shohei Ohtani almost got that no-hitter, carried it into the second inning. I would have thought that he had a no-hitter going a lot deeper.
We won the playoffs. We won the playoffs back in spring training.
That's right. I think
we're fine. We're cruising.
You guys
the season ended in Tempe.
Another fantastic season. I can't wait to buy my season seats for next year.
Absolutely. 30% increase, too, and it was well worth it. I mean, with the season they had this year, I could totally understand the increase.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen an increase like that since Starbucks decided to up their prices.
There you go.
For the 12th time this week.
I haven't seen an increase like that since my ex-girlfriend.
There you go.
We'll get into that off camera.
Yeah, that's Rick.
I've got some stories that'll curl your hair.
Literally.
By the way, let me introduce the panel. If you're watching right now, on my left, obviously, is Fernando, Lone Star Halo.
Hello. Yes, I'm coming from the subpar state of Texas.
Mm-hmm. Where Whataburger is king. And then on my right, we have Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, a.k.a. Halo Joe.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? I'm over here in the beautiful city of Azusa, California.
Oh,
the Canyon City. Only 3 shootings in the last week.
Some people say the Cancun of California.
The Cancun, the Hawaiian Gardens of the foothills.
Ooh.
That's what they call us.
Outstanding. Just below me is Catella Chronicles himself. Channeling in from where now?
From Corona, not coronavirus, like Corona the beer, maybe.
And not Corona Del Mar.
Or Corona Del Mar if we want to get a little OC fancy here. But yes, Dominic from Catella Chronicles. What's up, fellas?
There you go. And then to his right is James, if you can't tell. James! Pregame James. He's wearing his official 2023 baseball hat.
It's Ed Gein, the Leatherface.
Like I mentioned before the show, man, I made this in like 2017. I was so pissed about the team now. I've got a bigger head now, and this bag doesn't.
Were you 12 in 2017?
I wish I was.
It's historically relevant now.
It is.
You had a smaller head, but you started hanging out with Barry Bonds.
Yeah. Hey, it was a rub. That's all it was. That's all it was.
And
shout out to all the fans that brought their bags out for the games this year.
Oh, absolutely. You guys are all heroes for that. And then finally on the left of Dominique, checking in from parts unknown, is Big Rob.
What's happening, guys?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Big Rob.
He usually has longer takes, you know what I mean? But he gets into the numbers, and that's what we're going to do today. As we're going to discuss what went right and what went wrong. And I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to talk about with what went wrong. And we're also going to grade some of the players and talk about stuff as, yes, Demetrio checks in with Go D-backs. I think we all, before we get started, all agree on that.
Go backs.
We were just talking about that. Yeah, there you go.
It's a consensus.
Yeah, it's my second favorite team all of a sudden.
Exactly.
Just kind of jumped up there.
So what do we want to kick it off with, Fernando? Who do you want to start with, or do we want to just pick a play?
In our group chat, James had mentioned, like, hey, we should do grades. And we've kind of always talked about that, and our audience got to participate in the question of the day. And many of those for the last month were these report cards Obviously, we don't have time to go down the entire roster, but I think Todd had come up with the idea of maybe we just grade overall the starting pitching, overall the bullpen, the infield, the outfield, etc.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So however you want to take it.
Well, I think what we should start out with is the starting pitching. Let's talk about, give our takes. Remember, we'll keep it to like 2 minutes per person. And
before that, we should thank our sponsors for actually going through an entire season with us. That was great.
Oh yeah. Modelo Especial.
No, we had 714 tickets, and we also had our boys over at Noble doing the work for us too. So we appreciate them, and big things to come with them in the next season as well.
Yeah. I saw that Ron Holt was at the Sphere for the Las Vegas concert. Unfortunately, he had to sit through a U2 show, but he did get to go see the really cool effects in the Sphere there. So that looked cool.
Yep. That wasn't bad at all. So
yeah, and speaking of that, this season and suffering through this Angel season was the second worst thing to happen in our lifetime. The worst thing was when U2 gave everyone who had an iPhone their album without consent.
Oh yeah.
If you guys remember that, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had to have that and an Apple at the same time, so it's crazy. So let's get it started, shall we? The starting pitching had a lot of promise going into the year. Obviously with Shohei anchoring, we thought Sandoval coming out of Team Mexico was finally taking that next turn for the good. We all knew what Reed Detmers gave us last year. We weren't expecting another no-hitter, but we were expecting him to, have a winning record. And we had a couple of starters, including the one I thought was going to be bounce back of the year, Suarez. So what do you guys think? Who wants to go first about the rotation and give us your grade?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Go for it.
In the grand scheme of things, Todd was not the only one that made a bold prediction that was absolutely wrong. And in the pitch, I thought Mike Trout was going to be an MVP after being in the World Baseball Classic. That didn't work out. I thought Patrick Sandoval was going to overtake Shohei Ohtani as the best pitcher on this staff. That was nowhere near. Overall, I would give this pitching rotation a solid C-. Overall, they weren't trash. They weren't great. You had glimpses of everybody doing what they should be doing. Ohtani was great. Okay, he had a couple of moments that wasn't spectacular, but he still did his business. Sandoval had 3 or 4 games when you're like, that's the true Sandoval we saw at the World Baseball Classic. Same thing with Detmers. He went over and nearly threw a no-hitter near the end of the year against the Texas Rangers. The surprises of the pitching staff this year, Griffin Canning and Chase Silseth. I really think Canning became a strong anchor of the staff as the season went on. We weren't even expecting him till post-All-Star break, and we got him in April, and he really helped out the staff early on while the Angels were still winning at this time. Throw in a little bit of a nice Chase Silseth story, gets sent down to AAA, works on some mechanics, and he becomes pretty much a top 3 pitcher now, overtaking potentially Detmers and Patrick Sandoval in this rotation going into 2024. So there's good, there's bad. How can you sum up the starting pitching staff? And I didn't even mention Tyler Anderson. I'm pretty sure somebody else will mention him. Jekyll and Hyde. That was this starting pitching staff for the Angels this year, and it was tough to see. We had high expectations that just fell flat, unfortunately.
Good takes. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay, legit.
Looking at Tyler Anderson, he was lucky to go 6-6 this year, but he has so many starts where if the Angels scored, he would give some runs right back. Also looking at his walks, I mean that was a boatload of walks there. 64 walks. He didn't lead the team. That was Sandoval, but he had some bad innings, some bad home runs given up. Fastball is not really as high as it ever will be for him ever again. It did go up miles per hour to 90, but the way he located it was awful. He didn't strike out as many as everyone hoped. Then looking at Sandoval, man, mentally he would get screwed on the mound. I mean, mentally, when he had those bad innings, it would just get to him where he would walk 4 people, he would give up 5 or 6 runs, give up so many, like 3 or 4 hits. The walks just have to go down. Otani was good as he could be, although this year you guys noticed he did walk so many, and that wasn't what we were uh, accustomed to seeing. That was kind of odd for him. Canning came in, after everybody else for the season, and he did fairly well. He did strike out a lot of batters, but Detmers was kind of I don't know. He was good and then he was bad. He would have uh, about 3 or 4 good starts, it seems like, and then he would go back to his issues where he would walk a lot of batters. He would give up the home runs. He would give up a lot of hits. That's why his record was 4-10. So, looking at the record, looking at everything, and I think Chase Silseth, man, I hope he comes back better than ever. Of course, the Angels, throws the ball at his face, and of course that happened to stop his momentum. So Chase was a bright spot along with Canning and Detmers. Being picked 10th overall, you're supposed to show glimpses every year of why you were that, and he showed it somewhat this year. So all in all, I'll probably give it man. Otani really helps though. Give it to maybe a C minus.
Okay, so 2 C minuses. I like that so far. Fernando, you want to take next up?
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a D plus for damn. What the hell did we just watch? I'll say this, and I mean I'll keep it brief because we're all going to say the same thing, right? It was the high of highs, it was the low of lows. There was very, very seldom any in between for this Angels pitching staff. If it wasn't for Otani, you take Otani out of the equation, we're talking about a straight up D, maybe a D minus. But I think Otani was enough to get it to a D plus. We're talking, what's it like a high D plus, like a 68, 69 giggity. Just underneath the C minus. Maybe if Silseth wouldn't have gotten rocked by his own player, he could have gotten it to that C minus. Maybe if Canning could have had 2 more starts, if Sandoval would have remembered what therapy was and like maybe done like BetterHelp or something, use code Halos in the infield at checkout. Maybe that could have helped him out. I mean, this team and this rotation has just had so much mental errors. Really, for the past, 10 years, there's been no consistency. There's been no getting their footing down. And Otani, over those last couple of years, including this year, has been the exception, not the rule. Unfortunately, his elbow issues led him to getting shut down. And when did he get shut down as a pitcher? Was it August?
Yes.
Late August.
Yeah, because late August, like he started to really skip some starts, right? And then he came back for 1 start, and then they shut him down for 2 weeks, and then he DH'd for 2 or 3 games, and then they shut him down again. Yeah, and then we played the fun game of Erica Weston being like, "Oh, hey, don't worry, Phil Evans said he'll be back," and he just kind of never did.
Hey, Shohei Otani will be back at the ballpark.
Yeah, what is Valley going to talk about next year if Shohei Otani leaves? That's a whole nother episode.
Anthony Rendon.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Anthony Rendon's going to come back for 3 days like the McRib and then leave.
After the All-Star break, Rendon's 3rd game of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Back like an infectious rash for 3 days. Anyway, that's all I got. Yeah, D plus.
All right, D plus, 2 C's and a D. Who wants to go, Rob or Joaquin?
I'll go.
All right, Rob's up.
So honestly, I'm borderline ready to give them an F.
Wow.
Only because of Otani. And it's granted he pitched well. He jumped the rotation when he wanted to jump it. He sat back in the rotation when he wanted to, dropped days back. It ruined the rest of the staff. So now, is it fair grade to kind of judge this team on a 6-man rotation? It's kind of hard when you have one of your ace pitcher going back and forth on when he wants to pitch. And then Todd pointed it out plenty of times in the regular season on podcasts. Ever notice that he was always pitching the easy games?
Mm-hmm.
Oakland A's. He would skip those starts in New York, skip those starts in Boston. And then we saw him actually show up in Boston. Didn't do well. When the game was on the big stage and all, when he was pitching, we didn't get the same Otani that we saw in the World Baseball Classic. We didn't get that guy. Granted, his numbers say, yeah, great game, all this stuff. But when you get inflated numbers versus bad teams, of course you're going to look good, right? If we take Mike Trout's stats only versus Seattle Mariners in Safeco Field where he hits all these home runs, Hall of Famer first time, right? 100%. but you got to take the whole season across the board. I look at Tyler Anderson, 5 ERA. We signed this guy for 3 years. And I look at Suarez and everything. Guy does have promise, though. He is tipping his pitches. There's something wrong because there's no way hitters were all over his stuff. 1-2, 0-2 counts. How do you know that he's throwing a curveball? He gets that figured out a little bit. I think he's going to be just fine. The one guy I was really disappointed with this year, and I know that everybody was kind of hyped up on him a little bit too much, was Griffin Canning. Yeah. I like you, Griff. I want you to do good, but I'm disappointed. You can't go more than 5 innings without giving up a big inning. And you could be that guy for us. You don't have to be the Shohei Ohtani type and just overpower. Be Jared Weaver. Locate your pitches. Be a ground ball, fly ball pitcher. Angel Stadium is one of the biggest stadiums in baseball. Play to your strengths. I don't need you to strike out everybody. Granted, he did come out good at times, but then at the same time, there's glimpses of hope straight down, just like Sandoval's big disappointment too, because I was a halo honk on him. I thought he was back. Saw him pitch in that classic, like everyone else said, and was ready to go. But overall, I just have to say an F. And the stat that you guys posted in September is absolutely correct. When Ohtani dropped out of the rotation, Angels were in the top 10 in baseball again, just like they were last year. That pitching staff was good last year. We just didn't hit. So I think you take that into consideration. I don't know if it's Matt Wise or if it was Nevin, but something's wrong.
Absolutely.
I want to piggyback off of what Rob said real quick and give him his flowers for bringing up that really, really, really good point about Ohtani really not facing a lot of good teams, because it wasn't just this year. That's been a trend really for, since 2018 when he had his rookie year. He always conveniently misses those games, or remember in his rookie season, like against the Red Sox, that was the first time he really got lit up. And they were like, oh, he's got blisters. They took him out like immediately. And anytime he got lit up early, it's like, oh, he's got blisters.
Yeah. Or he couldn't handle the humidity in New York. You got lit up there in the Yankee Stadium too. So
yeah,
I don't understand that, by the way, that humidity. It's hot in Anaheim. I've been in Fullerton, right there. I went to school. There was 100 degrees. Dying.
Yeah, but it's not very humid in Anaheim.
You'll
deal with a little bit of it, but New York, we're talking about 90 degrees with 60, 70% humidity, various times of the year.
See, and I can count on one hand how many times he's pitched a day game at Anaheim Stadium, which is not.
No, he used to only pitch Sundays his rookie year.
Yeah, but that was way back before the arm stuff. Yeah, he has.
That's
the last couple of years, he's always skipped it to pitch the night before or the day after.
So with the position he's in right now, what would be the point of him being held back from those big named games? You think it's trying to save his body or his value? We're not. It doesn't. If he leaves, we didn't gain anything from him. So what do you think the Angels'
maybe
plan
it's his
was
camp.
on that?
Maybe it's his camp trying to convince the organization. Maybe trying to boost his own value.
His diva-ness, as Todd says.
And I think everyone can admit. I mean, Ohtani, the most talented player we've ever seen in our lives. I mean, probably the most talented athlete in the world, to be honest. I mean, he could do some freaky stuff. The guy could dunk. The guy can hit 500-foot home runs. He can throw 100 miles an hour. What can't that guy do? Seriously.
Yeah.
But he is very much a diva. Not to the point where I think he is a cancer. He's not a locker room cancer.
No. Yeah.
But it's definitely the Shohei Ohtani show, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talented.
But the situation that comes out of that, and we saw it when the whole news about his elbow came out, who's really running Shohei Ohtani? He's making the decisions and overpowering coaching staffs and now front offices. Front offices telling him, hey, you're having finger issues. Can we just check your whole arm and make sure you're all good? No, we're fine. We're gonna power through it. We'll be fine. That's where you start getting to the balance of power. We get Ohtani's this not all American, but he's this all MLB player who two-way star. We get it, but he doesn't have a stake in the franchise. How are you allowing this top tier player to run what you're supposed to be doing? Because the way you treat Ohtani, if Reed Detmers did the same thing and had the same injury with his elbow, I'm pretty sure Detmers is forced to get that MRI, forced to figure out what's happening earlier instead of causing other games. And to Rob's point, the hardest stretch of his pitching starts this year came from May 9th to June 21st. He faced the Astros at home, the Orioles on the road, Minnesota at home, Miami at home, at Houston, home against Seattle, at Texas, and home against the Dodgers. The rest of his games were relatively against Washington, Oakland, the White Sox, Pittsburgh. teams like that.
That raises a lot of questions of what the Angels are doing as far as control goes in different areas. It could
that's
be,
probably something
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot in the air there. That's a very good question.
Well,
Todd?
let's get your grade, Halo Joe.
I'm gonna say I've been going along with a D, and it's probably a D because of Shohei Ohtani, of course. But same thing like everybody's saying. I mean, it's echoing everything they're saying. There's just I would like to see this lineup have one more go on a full season with proper pitching coaching, with proper leadership in that department, with proper a proper health medical staff that's watching them, keeping an eye on their hands, on their bodies. A unified team. There's a word that the Angels should look into of people that will keep these guys together and cohesive, and it just seems like they're all kind of separated, and it just seems kind of like loose and unorganized, and it's really strange to see Ohtani on how he's going in his path through the season, and then you see guys like Canning and Sandoval and Anderson and them going through their struggles and doing different things, and it just seems like everybody's off. So I'm just gonna say D. I just don't think there's proper leadership in our pitching department and our hitting as well. Once we get into that.
Okay, well, we'll save that one for next. So we got the highest grade was a D plus or no C.
Hey,
no, we got a lot of C's.
We got C minus.
That's a passing grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, D. You know what they say? D's get degrees.
Yep.
Well,
D's get diplomas in high school still.
That's how I got out of high
D's get
school.
diplomas. There you go.
You guys have that saying. I loved mine from my time period, which was D's nuts.
Oh.
Okay, there's no way that anyone in the 1950s could say D's nuts, though. That was a little too vulgar back then, my friend.
Back then they said these testicles.
Todd was so proper in his use.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, what's your letter grade, Todd?
I'll stick with a D. I'll stick with a D. There was a couple bright spots that had me kind of like, keeping it from an F. But I was close, Rob. I was close to going with you on that one. So don't feel bad on that one.
That's for Fernando.
Let's jump into the bullpen right now. The bullpen, what can we say? It looked good on paper, but as the year progressed, became an outright mess and kind of cleaned up a little bit at the end. But give me your grades, guys, and a quick synopsis on what you guys felt, and also just who were your bright spots and who was way off. Like pick one guy that was like really surprised you in a good way and one that surprised you in a bad way.
Let's make this one quick. Raise your hand if you're going to give the Angels anything better than a D. Rob, okay, because Dominic, okay, let's start with Rob because I'm going
Rob
D
first. Go Rob because I have an idea, but I think we may be in line in this, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm giving him a bad grade.
Well,
Rob, go ahead.
I'd give him a C on this because you look at this. Is it their problem of the mismanagement coming from your manager when you're getting put in a bad spot, or you're getting put in the eighth inning when you're not an eighth inning guy, or the ninth inning, or vice versa? You're an eighth or ninth inning guy, you're in the fifth inning. No, this is a manager and a coaching problem here, in my opinion. This bullpen is good. And I thought there was a mismanagement by Perry as well. You had Joyce in AAA throwing 100 miles per hour, who would have complemented at least 2 to 3 of your pitchers that you had there with Aaron Loop and all those guys. Aaron Loop was not a ninth inning guy. Why is he even considered there? Jaime Barria, not a ninth inning guy, has blown every single save opportunity he's ever had, but yet we keep trying him there. Matt Moore, bright spot. Buddy, you're too good. We're not going to use the ninth inning. We're going to put you in the seventh. Why? Tons of mismanagement. Quijada, when he was in there too. Same thing. Put these guys in position to succeed, not to fail. If I have a flamethrower and Shohei Ohtani out there, I'm not going to throw my flamethrower guy out of the bullpen. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to mix it up, like Socha-esque, right? Mm-hmm. You got to throw the hitters off balance a little bit. And how many times we went lefty to lefty? Why? What's the point of that? They've been seeing lefty all game. Switch it up a little bit. The mismanagement of this team ruined this bullpen. I mean, last year we're talking about a team that was top 6 they're number 6, top 10, I'll say, in pitching. How did you fall from a top 10 pitching staff to now? They didn't work on stuff. They were given way too many days off in between. You're a bullpen pitcher. You grind. That is your job, is to grind. But you get pampered, you get babied, and you get stuck in this rut, and then you're misused because what's your role? We talk about that all the time. Fernando, you guys did in the podcast. Dominic as well. What's your role on this team? And I'll say one thing. Estevez, I always commented on spring training. I was not keen on Estevez. He shoved it, proved me wrong the first half of the season. Second half is exactly who I thought he was. A pitcher who leaves the ball up, has no control, and will walk guys and put himself in a bad position to fail. Because walks score runs, period. But this bullpen was good if you place the right guys in. Sam Baughman, Joyce, Matt Moore, 1, 2, 3.
Who was our closer to start the year? Was it Herget? Because it wasn't supposed to be Estevez, right? Estevez at first.
No, it was back and forth between Quijada and Estevez.
And Herget got some chances too, right? Before he got sent down the first time?
He had a couple late inning chances early on in the season.
Okay. I thought so.
Yeah, but to piggyback off Rob, 100% agree. That was one of my points. Mismanagement of the bullpen. You can't expect Loop in the ninth and all the scenarios you put out there. These guys out of the bullpen, they have a mindset. They prep differently than the starters. They are locked in for certain positions. Look at the Braves, and I hate to say it, look at the Dodgers. Look at all these teams in the playoffs right now. They're not using their, pitchers in different scenarios. It's here's your role, go execute it, and go do your business. The two things I have for the bullpen, and I'll say this straight up, best bullpen pitcher for me this year was Matt Moore. Even though he got shelled out to Cleveland, Matt Moore was consistent, he was dynamic, and he was pretty much anything you wanted him to be in the innings that they officially used him in, primarily 6th, 7th, and maybe the 8th. It was inherited runners. You can't fault the bullpen when the starting pitcher in a 2-run lead blows 3 runs, blows the lead, and exits the game with the bases loaded and nobody out. And let's say the bullpen, whoever comes in, Loop, whoever, only gives up 1 run, limits the damage. It's not his fault. He got the outs that he needed. But when you set up these bullpen pitchers in bad positions because of the starting pitching staff, you're already 2 steps behind the leader at this point. You can't find success when you're 2 steps behind everybody else. So really, inherited runners are the horrible thing for the Angels. And number 2, why is it every single time the Angels get the lead, and Fernando and Todd, everybody knows I preach on this all the time, as soon as we tie the game offensively, or as soon as we get the lead, not even 5 minutes later, starters or bullpen blow it in a matter of minutes. Mm-hmm. Minutes. I don't know how many games Todd and we did together. Immediately it was gone. And it was like you have momentum for a couple of minutes and then it gets sucked out of you, and you can see on every Angel's face, coaches, it's like, well, game's over now.
Yep.
How is that possible? How can you still allow that to happen? So mismanagement and coaching is definitely 1 and 2. Overall grade, teetering between a D plus C minus because of certain pitchers did very good jobs in their roles. C minus. Estevez really turned the corner that game against Detroit where he blew it in the 9th, but the Angels won in extra innings. After that, he was a different pitcher.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll take my 2 minutes. I'll give him. I'm going to stick with the D. They bring up great points about the mismanagement, but at some point as a professional, your job is to step up. Now, I understand that it might not be your role, and that's fine. That excuse works, to an extent. But Rob brought up a good point about Carlos Estevez. First half, Carlos Estevez deserved to be at the All-Star game, which is why he was there. Right? We were all mad when he didn't initially get in because he deserved to be there. But the second half proved that it really was a fluke. And hopefully going into next season, he can figure something out. But I don't have a lot of faith in Estevez going forward. He is supposed to be your guy. He proved to be that guy the first half. So naturally, the organization was cool. You earned the keys to the kingdom. Here they are. And unfortunately, he's just disappointed. I'm trying to think. What are some other big pieces? Of course, Aaron Loop. Let's not even bring up Ryan Tepera to start the year. Here is a guy that was supposed to, be a key piece of this bullpen. And just like last year, underperformed. Jaime Barria was initially a bright spot, right? He was initially the long reliever, did well, and then as the team started to, put him in the starting rotation, failed there. Rob had mentioned back end of the bullpen, they give him that responsibility, failed there. Quijada, before he went down with his Tommy John surgery, couldn't find his footing. Overall, Jimmy Herget, same kind of thing. He got a little bit better near the very, very, very end, but it was just a lack of consistency. Yes, a lot of these guys were mismanaged, but at the end of the day, I have to grade them for the tasks in which they didn't get done because they are professionals. And with that, I have to stick with a very, very firm D. There wasn't a lot of bright spots, but there was enough here and there to give them that D and not an F.
Okay, so a D for Fernando there. Joe or James want to take a shot at this next one?
Go ahead, James. Take a crack.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. Another thing was Stevis, and I know Todd mentioned it. I think probably Telechronicles mentioned it. They would use Estevez, either to hold a lead over 4 or bring them in a tying situation, or if they're down 1, just to keep the deficit at 1. And it seems like his mindset was not there if it was a save opportunity. Like it just seemed like that all year long, especially in the second half. Looks like he blew about 4 saves or more, and it was weird to see that mentality go down from Estevez when there was not a save opportunity. Something in him told him, "Hey, I don't have to do as well," or something. I don't know what it was. I wanted to see more, of course, of Jose Quijada, but of course he got injured, and I thought he was going to be a vital piece in the bullpen. And it was unfortunate. Having Renato Lopez was pretty good for that, 2 week span, whatever it was. They held on to Tepera too long, and then Loop, it felt like he had a bad start, but he was kind of decent after a while. But Matt, I really missed having Matt Moore. He was that one professional guy. Remember when we all had optimism in April and May, or when he came in May, he was doing very well. I mean, the knuckle curve, you do the fastball there and just basic pitches, and he was doing so well. And then he was gone. And then Jacob Webb, it was unfortunate to see him go, but he's in a better place now with the Orioles, and he's doing well over there in key spots. So it's unfortunate to see how the bullpen shaped up. Jose Siriano, he fared decently well. He was one guy you didn't want to lean on, but a lot of times you had to throw him in the 7th and 8th innings. But for the bullpen and for the starters, I'll probably go down to D+. And then for the relievers, I probably have to do a C-.
Okay, C- right there. Halo Joe, are you still with us here to give us your take? I guess not.
All right, Todd, give us yours real quick then.
Okay, real quick.
Give him a chance.
I'm just gonna go like this, man. You guys hit on all the points, and I agree with all of you guys so far what your takes is. I'm just gonna take another shot at it and tell you what I preached about and got upset so much to see was the inability to pitch a guy back to back. Like Rob talked about, these guys are grinders. This is their job to pitch 3-4 times, sometimes a week if you play 7 games, or 3 times if you play 6. We weren't even pitching these guys sometimes twice a week. And then like James said with Estevez, if we're not winning, we're not pitching Estevez, and if we are, we're taking him out of his comfort zone and pitching him because we couldn't pitch a guy back to back, to mop up. We couldn't trust a guy to give us another inning to mop up. And we're talking about guys who on multiple occasions gave you 9 pitches one night, and already, Wayne and Gooby were like, nah, he can't pitch tomorrow. He pitched tonight. Why? I've never watched that. Even with last year's team in 2022, that wasn't the case. All of a sudden, we got this mindset of not being able to pitch guys back to back, and I think that's what hurt our bullpen, along with many other things as far as coaching and stuff. So I give him a solid F.
Man, solid ass. No room for budget.
One thing that bothered me the most, and I know Halo Joe's going to come back here for a second, was
There he is.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all
You're
right.
good.
The broadcast team and the coaches always said, well, in a game where the Angels are blowing out, or use people in the wrong situations. We're up 6. Oh, just throw Estevez. The term "he needs work."
Yeah.
Every couple of days they have a bullpen session. They stretch. They do this. They don't need work. They need to play in a meaningful game in their proper spot. So the excuse of they just need to get work in. Well, what are they doing in pregame and earlier in the afternoon? Just sitting there with their, thumb up their butt? What are we doing here? Like, come on.
Well, and I'll agree with that real quick before we get to Joe. You brought up a good point, because I can't stand that they would pitch these guys, so rarely, and when they did, it was in dumb situations to where you couldn't use them the next night. All they could do on the broadcast, like you said, was complain about stretching guys out, not having them ready. Yet the next day, Phil would be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a bullpen game." It's like, wait a minute, but you're trying to conserve these guys. Why are we having a bullpen game? It didn't make any sense. We have a plethora of pitchers, and we're having bullpen games. So, Joe, you want to give a shot at this one, or not? I guess we'll
we had him and then we don't. Wait,
D!
Let's go!
I said, just to get it over quick. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. I have like a loose wire or something somewhere, or my electric bill needs to be paid.
Yeah, the hamster stopped running.
Yeah,
Mom got on the internet, or Mom got on the phone like old school.
I gotta get those hamsters back. Let's go. No, just real quick. I mean, same thing. Everybody's been saying it's the same thing. Inconsistency. Yes, they are professionals. I agree with Fernando. But I think there's certain mechanics. There's things that the coaches need to talk to their pitchers and tell them and work through them during each game. Like, hey, look, have you tried this? Why don't we try this? Let's elevate the elbow. Let's just different techniques to try to get them to adapt to certain teams are playing. I think every team that's come to play the Angels just read us like a book. I mean, I think they just knew who was coming up and what they were going to throw and what was going to happen. And the really good teams tore us up. And I just don't. Yes, they're professionals. You're exactly right. But I also think a lot of these guys are kind of just following what everybody's saying, and they're just kind of like, well, and dropping the ball, if you will. So,
yeah, there was definitely a lot of that. So
yeah.
what's you said D for your grade?
D, yes.
Okay, we'll have you start first on this next one, and then we'll go reverse since you've gone last twice. But
let's have another power outage.
Yeah, exactly. Get your take out of the way before the hamsters get tired.
Yeah.
Hey, for those watching live, let me just throw out there the fact that the Diamondbacks just scored again. It's now 4-1.
Hell to the yeah.
Let's go.
Hell to the yeah.
Sounds nice.
So, that'll take us to everyone's favorite, the hitting. And in April, I don't know if you guys are going to piggyback off this or not, but this is just my opening take on this one. In April, they appeared to have a different style of hitting, a different style of everything, and a different style of play. And then it just switched over into something else that we harped and bitched about the rest of the season. So what do you guys give the hitting as far as a grade? You want to take first shot at this one, Joe?
I'm going to go D as well. It was a lot of, to me, just misplacing batters. I mean, they're coming in every day and probably not knowing what order they're going to bat in. And it doesn't seem like anyone had an idea of what role they played. And also, too, that's a tough one. A lot of these guys came into the game with just it just looked like I'm kind of stumped. I'm sorry. Let's move on to the next one. Next person. It's kind of like what it is it's kind of like I'm trying to explain in a way you guys can understand, but there just wasn't any organization. Same thing I'm talking about with the pitching as far as batting coaching is concerned. These guys came in. It was being mixed around the lineup. I just think these guys were just disorganized and never comfortable and consistent. They just were never in that mindset. And we all know the mind of baseball is the most important part of your play. So
true.
I think Halo Joe's hanging out with Artie.
I think I've been drinking a couple too many. A little bit too much of the Jim Beam.
Yeah.
All right, who's
I
up
could take
next?
I could do
It's
the
called
next
it's
one
called
here.
it's called a brain fart, fellas.
Yeah. Go
Okay,
for
I
it,
don't
so
Jim.
have one
when
of
I
those. Go for
see
it, Breen.
when I see the Angels, I look at the numbers here and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, uh, 5 players with strikeouts over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that as the analytics coming in to say, oh, if you get this pitch, try to swing for the fences, try to hit a home run, don't do the little things, don't do the things that make you successful. Basically, I look at Moniak, and he was a guy that you came in and say, wow, he did great in spring training. Was hitting the ball all over the place. When he came up, I think it was in May in Cleveland. That was a good thing. But then he had some good months. He had some bad months. Ended up being injured, but had 113 strikeouts and only 9 walks. And we know how he does against lefties. That was really unfortunate. But man, look at Mike Trout. 104 strikeouts. Renfro 113. Shohei 143 because he's basically all in to kill the ball. And I was hoping maybe he can go the opposite way more. Brandon Drury, him and Otani were probably the bright spots on the team hitting wise. 136 strikeouts still for Drury, but he had the most, second most in home runs and RBIs. But all around, you saw, and I take kind of the blame for this for Luis Rengifo. I thought he was going to have a breakout year after last year. He did turn it on kind of at the second half of the season throughout. He kind of was having great months there, but rest of the players, it just seemed like they just fell into the loop of what they were being told, what to look out for, instead of doing the fundamental thing. And I think Angels just have to get back to that. So for the hitting, I would give it probably a C minus.
Okay. C minus there for James, a D for Joe. Who's up next?
For me, it's again teetering between a D plus, C minus. This one I'm actually going to go and lean towards a D plus because the Angels were 4th in strikeouts in baseball, 19th in baseball in walks, and 5th in home runs. So what it tells me is it's power or nothing. So power over patience at the plate. And at the same token, they don't care what they're swinging at. Now, James, out of the multiple people that have over 100 strikeouts, was Andrew Velasquez a part of that group?
I don't think so.
He could have been if he played, but again, just like the bullpen. So those 3 stats, they speak for themselves. I can't change numbers.
Were they 5th overall in home run hitting?
5th overall.
231 home runs or something like that.
The Angels finished with 231. Atlanta was first in baseball, 307.
Yeah.
So the Angels.
Well, give it crazy that they're a good team.
Yeah.
Most good teams aren't like number 1 in home runs.
Well, the sad thing is, out of the top 8 teams who hit home runs this year, the Angels are the only team that didn't make the playoffs.
Wow.
Oh.
Braves, Dodgers, Twins, Rangers, Rays, Astros, Phillies
Wow.
were your top 8.
The baseball gods cream pie us every year.
You look at those numbers, you have home runs, strikeouts, and walks speak for themselves. Just like the bullpen, the mismanagement of the lineup once again. Brandon Drury, in my opinion, hands down outside of Shohei Ohtani's strong offensive year, Brandon Drury was clearly an A-minus player. He was the most consistent thing that happened in the Angels lineup this year.
Mm-hmm.
But choosing for the longest time, Velasquez overseeing what Stefanik could bring to the table. Moustakas was nice, but every trade that the Angels pulled in, Cron was worthless, Grichuk was mediocre, and that's highballing it for him at best. Eduardo Escobar, congratulations, he became a U.S. citizen. That was probably the big attribute of his Angels career. There's,
he's in the books.
He's in the books. Just there was no model of consistency once players started going down. Rendon goes down. Okay, Trout's still there. Ohtani's still there. Great. Trout goes down. Uh-oh. Here comes steamrolling again. Taylor Ward gets plunked in the face in Toronto. Send that down right when he's getting hot. And you have Ohapi. Just the injuries. Again, we can't change injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And that aids the coaching staff and leads to more of a mismanagement than it needs to be. So, again, just like the bullpen, mismanagement once again, and Todd's favorite one. Let's not hit with runners in scoring position. I think that's inevitable. Even if the Angels ever make it to the playoffs again or win a World Series, I think we're still going to talk about the ineptitude of runners in scoring position.
Also, 29th overall in stolen bases this year.
There you go.
When they made things so much easier for us to steal bases, by the way, when you're having guys do things that haven't been done since Ricky Henderson in 1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's a couple players that actually outstole us as far as,
Yes, they single-handedly outstole the entire team.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic.
Okay, you know what? I want to be the ray of sunshine here, and actually, this is going to be the highest level of praise that I can possibly give this organization at this time.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to give it a C.
Wow.
And I'm gonna just grading on a curve. I know Anthony Rendon was the pinnacle of A's, so we're gonna eliminate him because he just outweighs us too heavily on the positive side. So with that being said, I have to give some of these guys credit because of how inconsistent the lineup was. You guys remember that scene in Moneyball where Brad Pitt is talking about Billy Beane is talking about these are the three guys we're going to go for, and he's writing the names down and he just kind of throws them on the board, Scott Hatteberg, David Justice. He just throws these names up there and they just kind of land sloppily on the board. That's exactly how Phil Nevin made the lineup this entire season. It was like, okay, Mike Trout. All right, I guess you're leading off today. Eduardo Escobar, cleanup. Why not? Squid batted cleanup a couple times for some godforsaken reason. You know what I mean? So it's just there was no consistency with this lineup. You had a couple of guys, like I think, Ohtani was almost always number 2. Drury, when he got hot, was pretty high up in the lineup. So you had a couple of pieces that stayed in a spot. But overall, there was a lot of shifting this year. There are some teams that this is the lineup, and that's the lineup for like 60 to 70% of their games. And that just wasn't the case. So you have to give some of these guys the benefit of the doubt. It's really, really hard to find a comfortable slot as a hitter. If you're leading off today, you're batting 7th the next day, then you're batting 3rd. Completely different tasks. We somehow had the AL's leading home run hitter, even though he missed like an entire month of the year, in Shohei Ohtani. I think he's probably going to be the unanimous MVP. Why not drive the value up? So, overall, I think I'm going to give this offense a C because it could have been much worse somehow, given the coaching, given the inconsistency of the order,
It seemed like he was trying to find the right combination with the injuries later on, but just to try to see what works instead of trying to sit back, let the guys play, and let them gel in a consistent way.
Yeah, these guys are professionals. Sometimes you have to force them to make it work.
Yeah.
This isn't Little League where you have to change the lineups, make sure everybody gets to play.
Exactly.
Yeah, this isn't the YMCA.
Yeah, exactly.
It's T-ball.
Go for it, Robert.
I'm going to piggyback Fernando. I'm going to go C as well. And the main thing was you didn't have an actual leadoff hitter. You didn't have a guy who knew, like, hey, I'm going to get on base. I'm the speed guy. I'm a contact hitter. Plain and simple. Yeah, sometimes our leadoff guy was hitting home runs. Like, okay, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but when you're swinging for the fences, you're going to get the end result of strikeouts, like everyone said. In the launch angle, it's the hitting coach problem. Marcus Thames, I thought, was going to be good this year. I also thought Brandon Drury was going to be awful for us, but I was wrong on both. Because Thames, that launch angle freaking stayed, and everyone tried to hit a home run. And as you know, solos don't win games. You need runners on base. You need consistent manufacturing of runs, and we didn't do that. Halo Joe, and by the way, I love your voice, man. I would pay so much money to have your voice. I'd kill to have that. Anyways,
who needs Morgan Freeman anymore? Halo Joe.
Yeah,
that's what I'm closing my eyes every time it's like God talking to you in baseball.
If there was voice plastic surgery, Rob would get that.
100% I would. But then
tell my wife that.
I'll let her know.
She's like, the voice of God sucks.
Hey, I have to agree with Rob's head. I have to agree with his head.
The rest of my body's here somewhere.
Is there a torso there? I'm just wondering.
I hope so.
I hope so.
But no, if you look at this team, and the one thing that I don't like as well, that I'm going to harp on a little bit, was the fact that we over-catered to Ohtani and what he wanted. He is not a number 2 hitter. He's a number 3, number 4 hitter. We need to get guys running in front of him. And there's plenty of hitters who don't like guys running in front of him. Prince Fielder was one. And he made it very, very known to the manager. Prince Fielder wasn't on that team very much longer. Ohtani, how many of you guys, did you guys pay attention at all? No one ever ran when Ohtani was at bat. He did not want that distraction. You don't get runners in motion. You don't help out your team. You need hit and runs. You didn't have that team who's going to be like the Atlanta Braves and everyone hit a home run in itself. So, and for that, though, we did have the bright spots. I think Luis Rengifo was bright, and I'll harp on this again. He was hurt by playing in the World Baseball Classic and not getting spring training reps where he needed them. Same with David Fletcher, and same with a couple of other guys on our team who needed those reps in actual spring training of more at-bats. Instead, they rode the pine on the World Baseball Classic. They didn't get that work in. You saw it in the first half of the season. These guys took about a month or so to get going. And I think overall that hurt those guys, and that hurt the team as an Angels, right? If you're going to be an organization, it's going to have to come down to, hey, you're no longer playing in this World Baseball Classic. We told Scott Kashmir that. Why can't we tell all these other players? What are we afraid about of all this stuff going on? You are getting paid by this organization. You're an investment piece. So this hitting, everyone, you're an investment piece. Stop trying to hit home runs. Neto, I love the dude to death. Don't get me wrong. Why do you have 2 batting stances? Hate it. Keep one. Perfect one. You're a 230 hitter? Unless you're hitting 300, do what you got to do. But if you're hitting 230, 240, keep one stance only and move on.
Okay. So Rob coming with it right there. Andrew just checked in. Do you have a take?
Hi, Andrew. You're looking good, buddy.
Yeah, you like the name? Yeah, the name lost a little weight actually. So
there you go. Name looking a little thick today. The good way. Thick with 2 C's and a K.
Let's see. Who does Andrew look like?
I would say Scott Hatterberg.
I was thinking the alphabet, but yeah. All right, I'll just give a quick grade here because you guys pretty much said some really great opinions about the team. So I'm just going to give the pitching quick an F-. If I can go lower, I would. That was a team that was an E. That was a team that was projected to finish top 10 or more. They ended up finishing 23rd. There's no way else to put it, but this is like catastrophic underperformance, and they collapsed on the stretch. The hitting, I'm going to give that a C+, maybe a B. Everyone knew that Mike Trout was going to be hurt. He's been hurt for the last 25 years. To still finish top 8 in home runs. I know they didn't make the playoffs. That was a really good point. That most teams that hit that many home runs do make the playoffs. If they had any pitching, they'd have been in. You just got to put it almost all on the pitching. The pitching broke down. It did not get them through. You had a closer with a 70 ERA basically in the second half, like Fernando was pointing out. It was horrible. It was just the pitching was F-.
Okay. I'm just going to follow that up real quick with as far as the hitting's concerned. I know a lot of you guys touched on the injuries. Injuries do play a part, but I feel that the coaching really let this team down as we brought up the Marcus Thames stuff, the launch angle. There was about a stretch of about 6 games where the Angels did not score a run that wasn't a home run. And they lost every one of those games. You can't outslug. It would work sometimes. And then as far as the lineups, Renifo was all-star up, it seemed like, at the leadoff spot. Nevin then he would go like 3 for 4, and then he'd shove him down to 7, or he'd put him at 4. It's like, what are you doing, dude? No consistency there. So I blame a lot of the coaching, the lineup changes, the injuries, but the launch angle killed this team. I mean, and you got to play to your strengths. You have guys who could steal bases. You got guys who could bunt. You got guys who could hit the other way. No. Let's just redefine all of their swings and have them swing for the fences. So I'm not going to blame the players as much, but you still got to go and you still got to be professional and hit. And sometimes you got to stand up and tell the coaches to F off. And there is no heart on this team. There's no team meeting, players only meeting in this team. So just for that factor, I give them an F.
What would you think happened if someone told Rod Carew, I need you to swing for the fences?
Oh, he'd tell them to piss off because
he would tell them that, yeah. But what kind of product would this guy get if he was swinging for the fences? It wouldn't be what he ended his career with. That was not his forte.
Yeah, if you talk to any of these older
he's a place
players,
hitter.
Any of these older players are ashamed of how baseball is now, where the strikeout is accepted. It wasn't accepted. It wasn't wasn't looked upon as, hey man, you went out there and gave it your all. It's like, no, bro, you messed up. You weren't reviewing the tape, or you weren't studying the strategy, for that particular pitcher, getting the lowdown. So yeah,
nowadays a strikeout's just an out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're like, "Oh, but you just an out. Who cares?"
And let me put it to you this way too: we had a game this season towards the end. The Angels struck out 19 out of 27 outs. That's pathetic.
That's just 19 outs. Who cares? Who cares? It's just they got out. Did they win? Did they get on base? Was it an error? Is it a E2 error?
What really mattered was, have you guys been to Jack in the Box?
Yeah.
Have you tried the munchie meal?
Have you tried the brownie? Hey.
Yeah.
You think Snoop Dogg will come in?
Next year, Valley
Head on down to
Sports
OJ's.
West, Valley Sports needs to have the Whopper song after every strikeout.
Yeah, there you go.
But to Rob's point about leadoff hitting, raise your hand. I know Andrew we can't see, but Andrew can say yes or no.
Raise your W, Andrew.
Yeah. Is Nolan Shonowell the future leadoff hitter, and will he be on the opening day roster next year?
Yes,
yeah.
present.
Present.
Yeah.
W's up.
Okay.
W's up.
Couple. I think Rob and James are saying no.
Yes.
Okay.
No to leadoff hitter. Yes on the roster.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes on the roster.
Do you think he's the opening day first baseman, Rob?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no. But I just said no to leadoff man because he's got to unhook that trailer, man. It's so slow.
And by the way, real quick on ShamWow, that dude, he can work walks even with that launch angle and aggressive early swing in the count that Thames was preaching. The guy's got a killer eye. If they just leave him alone and let him do what he did in college, I'm telling you, his numbers are going to go way higher.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick on him, do you guys notice how he bats like Trout and Ohtani all at once?
Yep.
Yeah.
He reminded me a little bit of the lower half and a little bit of the upper hands, like Kevin Youkilis. Those hands that are so high, even though it's the hands aren't detached, but still very high level.
And someone said earlier in the comments that Gooby gets an F for his honkism this year, and I agree because
I agree.
Yeah.
During this stretch too, they were railing on ShamWow for not having a home run yet. Yet the guy was on base. He had a killer on base percentage, a streak of being on base, 25 games?
Chicks dig the long ball. Nobody cares about getting on base time.
When he hit his first home run, both of them were like, hey, that's his first home run. Boy, it took him a long time. It's like, who cares?
He's gotten on base in every single game of his career, and he's going up the charts. He's the franchise leader, and now 20 games away from MLB? So if he gets on base virtually the whole month of April.
They were disappointed that he didn't have a home run.
I think ShamWow hit a home run, and then Erica West is like, hi, I just want to say, what's it like being on the same team as Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah. I hope nobody messes with his stance or his mindset up there. He's doing just fine the way he is. I mean, he's a good fielder. I just hope no one messes with Shonowell's approach at the plate. I'm hoping no one tells him, hey, you should be hitting more home runs, and we can show you how you can do that, and then totally mess up his mindset at the plate.
Correct. We've got a core that just does not need to be messed with, and I throw him in there with Ohapi and with Neto and a few other players.
What do you guys think? We have one more year with Drury. What kind of performance is he going to put off for next season? It being his last on his contract, and he's going to try to attract either us or someone else.
I wanted to ask you guys, if we could all pick one potential trade piece this offseason, and I feel like Drury probably would have been a couple of.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, where you think he'd be a trade piece?
Yeah.
Depending on where we are in the season next year, I could see that being a viable option. Unfortunately,
true.
But you don't see him as a trade piece this offseason if maybe the Angel, Ohtani walks.
No, because especially if you change everybody's mindset, I think Drury, just like everybody else, can boost their numbers with a capable coaching staff.
That's fair. Yeah, Drury was a great surprise. I think a lot of us were probably really down on him initially because he did not start off very well in April.
No.
Even May, his May was pretty iffy. It was June, July, August, where he really, really started to get consistent. He got hurt there for a little bit.
Yeah, he still put up numbers.
Yeah, and he still put up great numbers.
Hello, Joe. What about Ward and Rengifo on the offseason trade? What about one of those guys?
The trade Rengifo?
trade Renhefo or Ward. Do you see
Oh.
that maybe a possibility?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, right now, I don't have. I guess I'm just looking at different options, but I don't really have any clue with this team. What I think they can
Right.
possibly do with any of these players. I'm just wondering, with Drury having a successful season next year, is that something we write off of, keep them, and move forward? We need it, but as Todd was saying as well, if we don't have that season, he may be an optional trade piece. There may be a few trade pieces, depending on what Potassium wants to do.
I don't think you're gonna get higher value for Renhefo. Like we said
Drury?
this last year. Like this could be Renhefo's like best year, and then he had that great month of August. Like I don't know if we get anything more from Renhefo than we're getting now. So maybe his value is at as high as it can be, so you can get something in return. You pair him with maybe a pitcher or with Joe Adell or something. I know Joe Adell's not worth a lick of anything, but maybe there's some opportunity there, because if you lose Renhefo, why not go back and bring back Moustakas, bring back Gio Urshela, if a deal is right, because Urshela's coming off injury, so his price will probably lower a little bit. Moustakas is home. I think you could give him 2 years, $10 million, and he'd be satisfied. Like he was getting paid $750,000 this entire year by the Rockies before he came over here. I think a couple million just playing in Anaheim to ride out his career, he'll enjoy. And with Rendon, the way Rendon is getting hurt, 3 innings into a season, and probably having more excitement with an altercation with an Oakland fan than here, Moustakas could be your everyday third baseman, and rotate him with Urshela, who can play first as well. So if Shonwell needs a day off, Drury at second, Neto at short. You have a stronger infield than you might have if you keep Renhefo and lose Moustakas and Urshela in free agency.
Plus, I just like saying the name Urshela.
Yeah, if we kept Urshela and Moustakas, I would definitely say Renhefo's got to be traded, and then you finally give a actual opportunity to Stefanik. I don't know what this organization's problem was with Stefanik, but he hit in AAA, and a lot of people said, well, he's not going to hit when he comes up here. And he came up here and he was hitting. But the problem was, as soon as he went 3 for 4, Nevin, for the first sign of weakness, took him out. If he went 0 for 2, he wouldn't play the whole game. We saw Velasquez, who was useless. And then you send him back down. You wouldn't play him. You had him on the roster. And then they worried about his defense. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't have an error all season in the time that he played. And our wizard over there at shortstop had about, 10?
It was like 9.
Yeah.
Stefanik had 1 error.
Oh, 1 error. Okay.
Yeah. But still, you get to that point. And you say everybody was clamoring for the longest time. Adele's hitting bombs in AAA. He's going to do the same thing. Why are we giving him the benefit of the doubt? But Stefanik, why? Because he's 5'8", 180 pounds, not your prototypical second base, type. Oh, he's not a big, again, not fitting into the Angels coaching staff mind of homer, launch angle. He goes 365 with 5 home runs, 62 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases with a 930 OPS at AAA. And, oh, by the way, he had a 60-plus game on base streak at a certain point early in the year, and then ends the year before getting called back up on another 20 or so game on base streak. That's clearly horrible behavior. That's, ride the pine, dude. Like, come on. Like, again, mismanagement. It all boils down to the same exact situation, regardless if we're talking pitchers, hitting, defense, you name it. It all boils down to the same thing.
Identity crisis, right? We don't have an identity. We don't know what we want. We want to play the long ball. We want to play the small ball. We're going to be pitchers pitch to contact or strikeouts. You get a different guy every game. Same guy. He'll do different things.
That can't be easy for the players either.
Yeah.
I have an early morning tomorrow, so I got to leave. I have one question, though, for you guys that I want to ask. So we were just talking about Stefanik and, kind of where he fits into the mold. Let's talk about another guy who's kind of a lost toy, if you will, David Fletcher in this organization. Now, we knew last offseason, just in the group chat, we had discussed the fact that the organization wasn't sold on Jared Walsh, and they weren't sold on David Fletcher. And those were, what our inside sources said going into last offseason, and it was completely accurate, right? We saw it throughout the year as the Angels tried to replace Fletcher, with Urshela, the pelvic buster, and Brandon Drury, and they kind of successfully kept him down for the bulk of the season because that was the one area where there seemingly was depth, right? We had to deal with Squid, but we also got to see Rengifo step up. So we didn't miss Fletcher too much. Walsh just kind of couldn't perform. They had to go out externally to replace him. But where do you guys see Fletcher going forward? Anyone wants
In
to
a
take
Ranger
that?
uniform.
Okay.
I honestly do. I see a team like that taking a crack at him because you just let the guy play. Let the guy go out there and play baseball. You can't tell me that Velasquez.
But do the Rangers even have a hole for him, Brett? Because I mean, they have a I said, do the Rangers even have a hole for him? They have a really good third baseman. They have a good shortstop. Obviously, a great second baseman. Where would they use him? I mean, off the bench?
Then you off the bench, utility man him in. I mean, the Angels mismanaged this whole situation with Fletcher, and I think it was a personality conflict with him and the manager. It had to be because how do you go from a high signing this guy to a 5-year deal to low keeping him in AAA, paying him that much money? I mean, you can't tell me there wasn't a spot for him on the Angels roster this year anywhere at all. But I just don't see him fitting this organization anymore. Just like how we did Joe Adele, we toy with these guys so much that the willingness to play and wanting to be there just not there anymore.
That's
so Fletcher, he has to go just for him, to be honest.
He's also a kind of guy that has Oakland A or like a Tampa Bay Ray written all over him too. You know what I mean? A guy who very, very consistent when given the playing time. Great defensively, isn't going to cost you anything, and he's not very expensive for those two kind of teams.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning the same way.
Go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say Tampa. Go ahead.
Me too. I was going to say Tampa Bay. I know because they lost Wander Franco, of course, forever. And they brought in that other second baseman. I'm forgetting the dude's name, but he did well against the Angels in Anaheim. So I could see him maybe backing up there. But yeah, I think both parties just need to separate right there, and maybe Fletcher will find his way somewhere else. Just a new place where he'll find some at bats in the Mariners instead of being up and down in Salt Lake City and here.
True.
How many guys?
You want to chime in on that? You have a very good overall baseball mind.
I mean, the Angels they're not gonna be able to trade him for anything. Not with this contract. He's gonna have to be released. So I can see a team taking a chance on him for the minimum value, but we're talking about a guy here who's arguably been the worst hitter in baseball over the last 3 years. Like, this is over 900 plate appearances. He has a sub 300 on base percentage. His slugging is less than I think the Angels as a team had as an on base percentage. Like, he flat out can't hit. He had, one lucky year where he had a high batting average of ball in play back in 2020. In 50 games where he hit 319, and with his defense, that seemed really promising. But he got exposed in the majors. I don't think this is he's ever going to be a starter. But I would love to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. If I were to take over the team, I would utilize the player's strengths, and he's one guy that I'd be a slap the ball hitter, not swinging for the fences, not, trying to pop the ball up, just make contact, bunt every now and then, be a threat on the bases. And defensively, he's solid, but you can't play a guy who's not hitting, and the Angels had a bunch of guys who weren't hitting because they were, I think, out of their comfort zone. So will that change with the upcoming season? I don't know. That's my hope, though, because I'd like to see what these players could actually give this team. I don't think we saw. That's why I give them such a low grade, because we really didn't see the best of all these players.
No.
Via injuries or whatever. But I know.
That's a whole other issue.
Yeah, I know Fernando's got to run. Do you guys want to pick this up on another night as far as the organization's concerned? Because I know we went over the hour threshold right now as far as the on-the-field players thing.
That'll be a fun one.
You guys want to take a stab at that on the next show?
Yeah, why not? We'll do this again, and there's plenty of dysfunction to go around.
Because I think we'll have longer than 2 minute rants on that. That's for sure.
It'll
Yeah,
be like
there was nothing positive about the organization, right? Hey, let's talk about the promotional staff.
Who doesn't want to go to Christmas in June?
Yes.
Christmas in June. Let's go.
Actually, it's sad when Christmas in June is actually one of your bright spots.
Yeah. Let's talk about those bobbleheads.
Yeah. Which one of the three?
Yeah.
The Otani.
I'll tell you what, that organization episode is going to be like an episode of Sister Wives. It's going to have that much drama.
There you go.
That much drama.
Maybe at the end of the day, we can close it out with this. Quick, rapid fire. Who is the next manager of the Angels? This will lead in. This is your cliffhanger. Who do you think?
Ron Washington.
I'm going Buck Showalter. I'm not saying we have to like the person. I just knowing the Angels.
Yeah.
Buck Showalter.
I agree with you. I don't like the idea, but I think Buck Showalter is going to be. I want to dream and say Darren Erstad. That's not going to happen, but I have a feeling the Angels are going to hire Buck Showalter, especially because he's showing interest with the organization as well.
And he doesn't give a crap about his reputation. He's like, I'll go in and do whatever I want.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think they're both way past their prime, but it's going to be between Ron Washington and Buck Showalter. But yeah, I think Buck Showalter's managed enough big names, in Baltimore back when they were good. The first, he had Jones, Manny Machado era. He had enough divas there. And I think Artie will be like, oh, that's going to bring winning.
Winning.
Yeah. I think it would be a retread. I do like Ron Washington. I do like, Buck, but I just feel that if we were going to do what the fans really want, which is a complete rebuild, I don't think one of those managers would work. But I'd like to see someone new, but I don't think that's going to happen. If it's Artie's way, then he's going to get what he wants. Like you guys said, it's going to be a name.
It's always the A-Train way.
Yeah, exactly.
If you guys think Artie pulls it off and keeps Shohei, are we just going to be in for it for the next few years of the same show over and over again?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Any final words, Rob or Andrew, on this one?
I want to say Showalter, but I don't know why. I just think back in my mind, is he gonna get Sosha to come out and agree to a 1 year to help this team and see what he can do and turn this thing around?
Man,
He
that'd
needs
be
that
well-
leader.
That would be nice.
I'd like that.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Phil Nevin. I think they're gonna forget that they hired him.
Did we fire that guy? No, it's fine. Come back. It's going to be Artie.
Hey, that's not like. Hey, don't be like the Anaheim Ducks when Bob Murray came out of the GM chair and got behind the bench. It was like, I'm going to coach for the second half of the year.
No.
There you go.
Oh,
Don't
let's
do
not roll with that, please.
We
Let's
all
not do
know Gooby is our next skipper.
Oh yeah.
Todd, how about you? Last one.
Like I said, I would just take a youngster, man, but it's most likely going to be a retread of some sort. I just, if we had a better team, if we had a team like going into this year like we had next year, or like we would have next year, then yeah, I would say Buck or Ron, but I just don't see it.
That'll be the conversation that we start off with on the next time around.
Absolutely. Good
On
show,
the next
guys.
episode of
Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch.
The Halo Bunch. All right, guys, appreciate the time. Good night, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye,
gentlemen.
everybody.